All right, let's go. You and I talked about this already because I came on the show Friday and said I had talked to you about Tua's performance, and you kind of gave me a rundown. And now a lot of people out there have seen the video that circulated on social media that went out to the different teams. And for people who aren't aware, we're talking to Trent Dilfer, who has been working with Tua Tagovailoa to get him ready for for basically what was effectively a pro day, although it was done with social distancing and was done here in Nashville without, being typically on a campus or with a big crowd or anything like that present. So let's start here. How good, you've watched quarterbacks play for your entire life. You were a good Super Bowl winning quarterback yourself. How good is Tua?
Well, he's the finest prospect I've ever worked with, and I've worked with most of them at the high school level in the last 10 years. I have not worked with most of them as they've gotten ready for their pro days. Now, I've consulted a lot of guys that do the pro day preparation. I've traveled around the country and watched a lot of the guys as they prepared for pro day preparation. Tua is the single best prospect I've ever been around for a lot of different reasons, more than just how he throws the ball. He's a unique competitor. He has incredible processing ability. He sees the field like a 15-year NFL vet in college. And he's got kind of that magic trait. He's got that ability to do something spectacular when nobody expects him to do it. So there's a lot of things that make him special. I thought what was unique about the pro day, and we can get more into it, was the circumstances around it. He's only been throwing for a month on his feet. He's only been cleared athletically. Actually, it's been less than a month. It's been just less than a month. How we had to jimmy rig a 26-yard wide, 50-yard long indoor facility to try to showcase his talent and how precise he was and how powerful he threw the ball and how well he moved and what the twitch he showed him. There's just a lot of things that went into it. And I'm probably a little biased because I've been so close to him since he was 17, but also I have a pretty broad scope of guys that I've seen the last 10 years, and I think he's the best.
All right, so break down what happens at one of these workouts. How do you decide what to do? Because some people have seen. If they haven't seen, we'll grab some of these videos and I'll tweet it out later in the day so people can look at it. But he attempts how many throws? How do you grade it? What makes a good pro day?
Okay, I'll try to make this as quick as possible. But typically you have 100 yards and 53 and a third wide. And you can showcase pretty much any throw that would come up in the season. And the best pro days do that. The best pro days, the ones I've helped script or watched scripted that really are the best, will create 50 to 65 transferable throws into a season. So a long ball, a deep out, a timing route, but also something where your feet get taken away from you by a pass rush, left and right, up and back in the pocket. Movements outside the pockets both ways, second reaction, third reaction plays. You try to replicate as many things as you can that would come up in a season. Therefore, the scouts can say, hey, I can picture that. I've watched thousands and thousands and thousands of plays of football, and wow, I just saw a make-believe play, and I can picture that player doing that in the season. Those are the best pro days. We couldn't do any of that. We didn't come close to doing any of that. So the real challenge and what kept me up at night pretty much the whole week was trying to find a way to showcase what people needed to see from Tua. I know that they've been able to see his film, which is spectacular. I don't know. I find it mind-boggling how anybody can pick apart any part of his film. If you go back and choose any game from his career, even the games where he maybe threw an interception or two weren't his best games. He still does things in those games that makes your jaw drop, and you can tell that he's a unique talent. But to then try to create an environment where you could show a scout, hey, I can, or a general manager or coach, oh, wow, what I just saw Tua do there, I can picture that now in a game, was really challenging. So what I try to do is build it around a theme. I try to build around power, twitch, movement, and precision. Because the big question around Tua, the two things that I heard from the coaches and GMs that I talked about was, well, you can tell me he's healthy, but you got to show me he's healthy. Okay, fair. So try to do a lot of movement, both on the run, but also pocket movements, whether they be pops or ghosts, as I call them, or conflict drills, where you can see the power and the twitch of his body and see that sustained over a large amount of throws in a short amount of time, because now you can test fatigue. And then at the end, what I did with those 20 power throws was really try to take as much space in that indoor as I could, along with the low ceiling fan, and to do 5 throws of 47 yards where I had to keep the ball under 30 feet high. That's really like a 1.5, 2 ball, showed the power in his arm. So it was a real challenge, but I thought he did it as well as anybody's ever seen, considering the circumstances, because whether it was a quick little throw, everybody says, oh, that's an easy throw. Yeah, it's an easy throw, except every single one finished on the face of the receiver that was running it, which was a perfect throw. He's also doing it when the back of his drop, he's almost running into a wall. And his receivers, he has to be precise, because if he throws them too far outside, they're running into glass. So there was a lot of circumstances around that pro day that, from looking at it from an insider's point of view, made it very, very, very impressive.
We're talking to Trent Dilfer at Dilfer's Dimes on Twitter. You can go follow him there. We should give a shout-out to Will Bartholomew at D1 Sports. There are D1s all over the country, but he's located here in Nashville where both of us live. And he was able, you're talking about the facility, the challenge of trying to find somewhere where you can even do an event right now during the social distancing era that we're in addition to coming off the injury, and I'm going to get to that in a sec, you have circumstances literally that have never existed before as the NFL draft gets nearer, and you got big stakes, so finding the right place was huge.
Well, yes, and love Will, and so grateful that we're able to use D1, but let's even go back for a week. Okay, so a week before the pro day, there was certain receivers who were going to be there. We were going to be at Lipscomb Academy on the outdoor football field. We're going to have a lot of auxiliary staff around to help us produce a big-time event. We were going to live stream it. We're going to do a lot of cool things. And then because the circumstances we're living in, slowly by slowly, things kept getting taken away. Now, put yourself in Tua's shoes. He's been prepping, as we talked about. We've called it the Ukraine. We tried to do this Rocky IV analogy with him, where he's been kind of secluded for all these months. Really, nobody knows what he's been doing. And here's going to be his big coming out party where he can show the world that he's healthy. And every single day, something gets taken away from him. Every single day as we got closer, nope, that's a nope. We can't do this. We can't do that. We can't do this. And most guys would start having a pity party. Most guys would start feeling sorry for themselves. Most guys would be like, well, man, I've worked so hard and now I can't show it. And that wasn't Tua. We took the approach, no, we're going to control what we can control. We're going to make lemonade out of lemons. We're just going to keep rolling and make this the best we possibly can. And that's what we ended up doing.
We're talking to Trent Dilfer. All right, I'm far from a doctor, as everybody who listens to this program knows. But I watched the videos of Tua and the way he's moving, and it seems to me like he's moving really, really well. You talked about the punch and the pop and the vitality on his throws. Does he look pretty healthy to you? I mean, you would know, I think, better than most as a quarterback when somebody can't use their hips, when they can't come through with a normal throw. You've watched him closer than anybody here as he's gotten ready for the draft process to do this video. How healthy did he appear to you?
I mean, I said it 2 weeks ago. I'd put him in a football game tomorrow and not flinch. And we never did. I never did anything with him without getting clearance from a doctor. I'm less of a doctor than you are. So I wanted to make sure anytime I added capacity to his workload, I added a new movement pattern, I added some new dynamic movement into the process, that it was all cleared by the doctors. And they cleared everything. He's been through multiple rechecks, from the combine to the individual teams that are looking at him. Everybody that I've talked to is cleared. I know some stuff came out last week about some doctors showing him. Those aren't doctors of teams that are interested in him, because everybody we've talked to will have the opportunity to draft him has passed him with flying colors. I think he's moving with more power than he moved with before the more explosiveness, I should say, than before the injury. Luke Richardson, who is the human performance director for the Houston Texans, won a Super Bowl with the Broncos, as their human performance director, as my strength and conditioning coach at Lipscomb Academy. He really handled him out of the transitional period where it was kind of rehab and strength and conditioning. Luke was the one who really put him in that program, and he came out of it more stable, more mobile, more powerful than he was before. Now, I think he still has some conditioning to go. You got to have a great work capacity, but you also you got to have a great endurance. And I think his endurance needs to grow before he goes to an OTA, but he has time for that. And going back to the pro day, we threw 4 blocks of 13 throws with no breaks. So you try taking 13 drops, full speed with movement in the pocket, out of the pocket, 13 in a row, quick little break, do that again, do that 4 times, then end the day with 20 more powerful throws that were all movement driven. He showed pretty good stamina, even though he's only 1 month cleared of doing these types of things. So he's completely healthy. This will eventually come out that he's completely healthy. I think the pro day showed that, but it also put a kind of an exclamation point behind it that he's not just healthy, he's explosive and twitchy as well.
All right. I always like to ask, if you put a player out there, you think ceiling and you think floor. You've watched a lot of guys play in the NFL. You've watched a lot of guys evolve. Who is Tua Tagovailoa's ceiling? What is his floor? How would you contextualize him in the current NFL?
Yeah, I use that analogy a lot, actually, when I was doing TV to ESPN. I think ceiling and floor are great ways to talk about prospects. I think his ceiling is as good as there is. It's Aaron Rodgers, it's Dan Marino, it's Drew Brees, it's whoever your favorite Hall of Fame quarterback is. I do really believe that's his ceiling. I think he's uniquely gifted. He's special. When it comes to ceiling. Now, he can't control where he goes, how he's coached, who he's surrounded by, who's blocking for him, who his owner is. Ownership's a huge deal in the NFL as a quarterback. You want to go somewhere with a great owner that has vision for you and for the program. So you can't control any of that stuff. So I think his floor would be, an 8 to 10 year NFL starter. There's zero chance of him being a bust. I mean, this kid is so special. He's an assassin deep down. He's unique. He has a unique competitive temperament to him. The way he is with his teammates. Jerry Jeudy flies out to be part of his pro day, just to be part of his pro day because he's his buddy. As I've gotten to know Tua a lot better over the last few months, his connection he has with his coaches and his teammates is second to none. People play hard for him. He has whatever your list of your favorite quarterback traits is, he's got them all.
That's a pretty robust endorsement for sure. Now, you talk about like a Hall of Fame ceiling, 8 to 10 year NFL starter as a floor. Where do you think he ends up, right? Like, he is the biggest story of the NFL draft. There seems to be an expectation that Joe Burrow is going to go number 1 overall. I'll just ask you, if you were the Cincinnati Bengals, would you be seriously considering Tua as the number 1 pick, even though the expectation seems to be that they're going to go Burrow?
I know for a fact that there's serious discussions inside the building, even though they kind of have to take Burrow, that many in the building, and this is always, who has the bigger voices. There's always different opinions in the building, but there's many that think that Tua is a superior prospect, which I would agree with. But they have to take Joe Burrow. He's an Ohio guy. He's going to fill the stands. He checks every box, and he's a fantastic quarterback. Don't get me wrong. He's a fantastic player. He just doesn't have the raw horsepower, the upside, the uniqueness that Tua has. That special magic quality that Tua has. Joe just doesn't have that in his engine. His engine isn't built the same as Tua's is built. But he's a fantastic football player. I think the Bengals have to take him. They will take him. I think the interesting thing that's going to happen here is somebody is going to try to mortgage the farm to move up to get him. Now, whether they can pull it off, whether they have enough ammunition, draft day scenarios are very interesting. A lot of times teams make very aggressive moves that nobody ever knows about because it's not aggressive enough to get to where they need to get. But there's teams that are dying for Tua. The tank for Tua thing was not a fake thing when it was going on. And now that teams are being assured that he's the same, if not better player than he was before he got hurt, those same narratives are starting in the building again. I personally hope he ends up, all I care about is he ends up with great ownership and a quarterback-centric head coach. If he ends up with those two things, I think he'll be wildly successful.
Where is a good place that has those two things in your mind?
I think Indy's a great place. I think the Chargers could be another good place. I don't know if they have the juice to do it. I don't know enough about the Dolphins to say one way or the other. You know, that's a new coach. It's this new group that I'm not familiar with from my time in the NFL, my time at ESPN. So I just don't know a lot about them. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Raiders making a massive move to try to get them. I think that would be a good spot, too, because of John's background. So I think there's a lot of good spots where he can end up. At the top of my head, if you put a gun to my head and say, where's the best? I would say the Colts would be the best. But again, that's without knowing a lot about the Dolphins organization.